You've made it to part 3 of the series. You know exactly your financial goals that you want to hit, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, and how much you want to have saved for those financial goals. You've started an emergency fund. You've looked at your debts and you're starting to pay those off. You've created a budget. You looked at your category spending. You figured out what you're wanting to spend money on, what you actually need to spend money on, and how much you're saving. Now we're going to analyze even deeper into that budget to figure out what we actually can save every single month to put towards our financial goals. This part in the series is actually going to be figuring out what you can actually cut back on. This is also very difficult because people like to spend money on what they like. It's very simple. People have hobbies. People enjoy different things that make them feel good, make them feel happy. What are ways that you can actually cut back in order to get ahead of your finances and reach those financial goals that you set in part 1? So, for example, let's say that you made $5,000 in the month and you want to save 20%. Like we said in part 2, if you haven't watched part 2, go up here and click this video and go back and watch part 1 too if you haven't watched it. But say we make $5,000. You want to save 20%. That's the standard on how much you should be saving every single month. That would be $1,000. So now you have $4,000 to work with. In the 50-30-20 budget rule, 50% should be going towards your needs. So out of the $5,000, 50% should be going towards your needs, which would be $2,500. $2,500 going towards your needs, $1,000 going towards your savings. That would be $3,500. That means you should have $1,500 saved, just sitting there every single month that you can spend on your wants. But do you actually want those things that bad that it'll set you back to not being able to reach and achieve the financial goals that you set in part 1? Are those coffee runs, or are the drinks out with your friend, or maybe it's going out to eat? Are all those things worth not being able to get a down payment for a house? Or maybe it's to buy a new car. Or maybe you've been wanting to go on a dream vacation to your favorite country, but you've never been able to afford it. You look at other people and say, man, I wish I was that lucky. Or dang, how did he get that? Or how did she get that? How does she make enough money to be able to afford things like that? And a lot of times it's not about how much people are making. It's about what they're actually spending their money on. We don't have a savings problem. We have a spending problem. People want things when they want them, and they want them now. We are entitled as a country, as a world. We are entitled because we want things now, and we want them the way that we want them. We are happy to go into debt for things because we're told that it's okay. Be happy. Enjoy that. You deserve it. In reality, that's not the case. Even if you have the extra money set aside for those things, sometimes those costs, those expenses, those transactions are what's holding you back from your bigger financial goals that you seem to never have enough money for because you spend it all every single month. After breaking down all your transactions, you probably can see exactly what you're spending money on and where you're spending it in the wrong places. I know it can be a shock. I know it can. When you see that you spent $150 on coffee this last month, or maybe you ate out and spent $500 eating out and you only spent $100 on groceries. Maybe your gas is $400 a month. I don't know, but I know most people have a shocking number when it comes to actually breaking down their transactions and seeing where their money is going. And this is going to be about cutting back in those areas that you can cut back on in that wants category. So in the wants category, in our example of the 5,000, you should have 30% for your wants. That would mean that you have $1,500 every single month that you could spend on your wants. Now, do you prioritize and become responsible, hold yourself accountable to actually spend that money and save that money where you want to actually obtain and reach your financial goals? That's up to you. You can take that money and buy your desires that are these short-term, small transactions that make you feel good for about 10 minutes, or you can save that money to be able to save up and set yourself up financially in the future. Maybe you want to get out of that apartment, buy that house that you want. You need to have a down payment. That could be $15,000. That could be more than $15,000. It could be less, depends on the size and where the house is and how much the house is. Y'all seen money for closing costs. And then you also don't want to be house poor. So how are you going to reach that goal? You have $1,500 sitting here. Are you going to save it for your house? Maybe you want to go on that trip. Are you going to save it for the trip? Maybe you want to get out of debt and have emergency funds so that you can feel relaxed and not stressed out every single time that maybe something happens, because you don't want to get set back again. Maybe you can have that money in a high interest savings account just sitting there in case something bad or unexpected does happen. These are the decisions that you have to make. And I want you guys to be responsible. I want you yourself to be accountable. Make these decisions for yourself. Look at the spending, how you're spending it, and where you could cut back. Only you know how and where you can cut back. I'm not looking at your journal. I'm not looking at your spreadsheet, your finances. You know it, and you have to be honest with yourself. So take some time, reflect, figure out where that money can come from so that you can reach that financial goal. It's sitting there right in front of you. But until then, make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that bell icon, because part 4 is coming and it's really good. So make sure you guys are staying aware, staying on top of this. You're going to want to watch the part 4. But until then, remember, you can do all things through him that gives you strength. See you guys.